now from Tom. Beautiful. And let's let him in.
Let's let him in.
Oh. Hi, Jody. Hi, Cal. Some more people joining. I see joining and then leaving. Awesome. Just give people a little moment to trickle in.
We should have those thank you for silence.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, give it one more minute.
Mm-hmm.
I heard from some others that that they intend to join 10 minutes in, 15 minutes in, 30 minutes in. So I welcomed them to come whenever they could do it. Just join the conversation as it develops. So Jess is connecting to audio. Hi, Jess. And as soon as Jess is connected to audio, I think we can start.
Beautiful.
And if it takes much longer, maybe we'll just let her catch up.
And she's gone.
And she's gone. All right. I love the way of it. It's amazing. Okay.
Okay.
Hi. I love our intimate group here. Homero's coming. This is great. Okay. Hi, Homero.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hey, hey. Okay. So, okay, I've got an impulse here that I'm noticing. I would like this impulse to have arisen 10 minutes ago. But it seems to me that if people are going to be trickling in, that it would be nice to have in the chat what this is and what we're doing here. And I've noticed that I haven't prepared that. So I'm wondering how we might do that. Tom, would you be willing to write a little description of what we're doing here?
For the chat here?
Yeah, for the chat, for anyone who's joining after we've started.
Let's
a short introduction to what this is.
Yeah.
As you understand it.
I understand it.
Okay. And then we can new joiners will have that.
Perfect.
To lean on. Okay. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so context. I noticed in the BK chat that one of our members was asking a question about procedures, about what she might do in a particular situation with a particular thought and how she would question it. And I had my own experience to draw from and answered her question with the way I approached what she was doing. And I remember her saying that she struggled with the thought, I will be useless. And I gave her my answer, and then was happy to hear that my answer was helpful to her and some others. And then somebody else reported that they struggled with that same thought. I am useless. And hearing it the second time drew my attention to that thought and reminded me that that has been a thought that I've struggled with for a long time and was a really deeply seated belief that I was holding for many years, off and on. And it was a real weight around my neck, to the point that I did a sheet on that thought, and I remembered that I had done that sheet. And it was so important to me and my mental well-being to have done that sheet, and my experience of my life to have done that sheet, that I actually captured my sheet and included it in a website that I've made. That's a collection of all my journal entries that kind of talk me off ledges. And that collection of journal entries lives on the web, and I make it available to anyone who's interested, and to no one who's not. And so the thought arose I could share my sheet on I am useless. I am not useful to others, was the way I phrased it in mine. And then I heard that was helpful and useful to people with whom I shared it and who read it. I was reflecting on all this with Tom, and Tom had the beautiful idea, what if we were to create a space to continue this conversation? And I loved that thought. And that's purely what this is. Without any forethought or prepared structures or workshop format, just an opportunity to be together and reflect on that thought and what we've done with it. And I feel like I've said enough about what we're doing here, as I understand it. Tom, do you understand it any differently? Is there anything you would add?
No, I'm curious about something, and I love the way you lead this.
Oh, thank you.
So, do you want to know what I'm curious about?
I am curious about what you're curious about.
Okay, so I'm curious about our group here and you being here in this room. Why did you join? For all of you who are open to share, and I know that there's a bunch of us here who like the idea of participating as a silent listener, which is super fine. Mm-hmm. And is there anyone willing to share? Why did you join today? Are you experiencing the thought, I am useless? I believed it this morning. We just chatted about this, Mike and I it came up this morning and I believed it. So what about you? You can just unmute yourself.
I can share.
Please.
Oh, so I saw the stream in the chat yesterday, and I was just wondering if the universe wanted me to be here or not. And I figured I would know if I showed up here. And when I was in the shower this morning, I had the thought that doctors are telling me I'm dying of cancer. And I've been in a lot of pain, and I was calming myself with, well, I'm in so much pain, I'm useless anyway. So it's okay to let the body go. So I'm looking at it from a different way. And then I noticed I had a little bit of free time, and the calendar reminder came up. Thank you for setting that up. So I'm supposed to be here just to listen, but I'm hearing it. I'm useless, almost using it as comfort to allow myself to go.
Wow, Jody, thank you for that. I love the idea of the thought being a comfort. That's a revelation for me. Very grateful. And to me, the thought arises that any thought that brings peace is true. I've found it, I don't know if that's true, if that statement is true, but it brings peace. And I like the idea that any thought that brings peace is true. And I find that living that way hasn't done me any harm yet. And so I'm grateful for that peaceful thought.
I've heard Katie say she doesn't question her peaceful or happy thoughts. So they may or may not be true, but yeah.
It hasn't hurt me yet to believe that every peaceful thought is true. So I'm grateful for that one. Does anyone else want to share?
Hi, I want to say I'm very grateful for your sharing, Jody. It somehow brought me some peace, and just the way you say it, your face was lighting up. So somehow it does seem like, though it does have the word useless on it, it seems like it's a reflection coming from this process that from what I've witnessed in the community, you're living it very profoundly. So thank you for sharing that. And it's interesting to, I'm going to write it as a note to then think of how this feeling of, for me, my brain uses the word unworthy instead of useless. I was reflecting about this yesterday and I was like, of course I think I'm useless. But when I was thinking, it's like mine is like this, I use the word unworthiness, but it's linked to the same. And uselessness is linked to certain activities, or, me being a part of a group, work. It happens a lot. Like I struggle a lot with work and relationships in general, but like work is one thing where uselessness is very heavy for me. And I found that I've had a few facilitators that have led me towards really good worksheets, and in the turnarounds, they help me find, like, how are you not useless? So how are you useful? How is your work giving value? How are you giving value in this situation? And I can do it with a facilitator in the open space, but it's very hard for me in the day-to-day to actually find value to a lot of things that I'm doing. So of course, the topic resonated with me, and yes, it is something that I've been reflecting on. And one thing that I think is this uselessness is just a very, very heavy feeling, that sometimes it's not only a thought like, why would I do this? I'm useless. It's more like just this huge wave that comes over me, like a huge unworthiness that I need to like drop everything. Nothing's gonna work, nothing. If I do what I'm set to do, if I do something different, there's like no solution. And then, the tools come in and the work is very helpful. But yes, it's something that's very, very present. That's what I feel of sharing right now. Thank you.
Thank you. That was all very familiar to me. Anyone else like to share? We have some newcomers to the call. Just to update you, we're just sharing what brought us here. and with some reflections on what we're hearing. And direct your attention to the chat with a short description by Tom of what we're doing on this call. As we, the organizers, have understand it.
People get this message when they join, by the way.
Okay, good. Jess?
Hi, friends. Now there we go.
Hi, Jess.
Hi. I notice I'm useless as a way to disconnect, particularly as a parent of a 18-year-old adult. So this in-between place of not being able to do anything and apparently having to pay for everything and not having any control about how things, I could rant. But what I'm saying is, I find, well, what's the fucking point? I don't have to be here. Why should I be here? What's the point? I don't even need to talk. This is useless. This is stupid. I'm useless. I'm ineffective. And it doesn't feel peaceful. It's not me coming to terms with this problem. It's me shutting down and giving myself a reason why I am going to put my head under my pillow and just not come out for a while. And so why am I here? Well, first of all, I wanted to see everybody in person for a bit. There was the love. I just wanted to see the love, feel the love. And also what a great way to connect. What a fantastic idea. And to have a focus point to do it on that is so relatable. I wanted to be a part of it.
Thank you, Jess.
Yeah. Well, nice to see you guys again.
Hi, Corso.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think well, I'm probably struggling with people around me which feel they're useless. So for instance, my mom's partner passed away a few weeks ago, and she's feeling, okay, what's the point of being here? I mean, she's 83, and basically struggles, right, with the situation, and feels like, before she was really taking care a lot about him, and then you feel used, right? And then suddenly you're going, so this person is going, the job is going away, and then you feel, okay, and what's the point, right? I'm useless now. And how should I, and I feel useless, and that's what makes me feel useless, because I would like to tell her not to feel useless, right? Because I think, there's still, I mean, yeah, there's a lot here. The kids are here, the grandkids, everything, right? And there's a beautiful life here, and I think, and I'm struggling myself. I'm struggling because I would like to help, and I cannot help, and that makes me feel useless in this in this context as well, right? Yeah, I think, when you feel, I don't know if uselessness has a lot as well to do with, yeah, I cannot get it right. There is, I cannot, I cannot contribute. I'm useless in a conversation because I'm not knowledgeable enough to say something about it. I should probably just step away. I want to walk away because, I'm not, I'm not good enough into this. I think this is a lot about, this perception of not being able to support, to contribute, to whatever, right? Yeah, that's what yeah. And I think this is kind of a topic really, that goes around a lot. And so it was very nice for picking that up, Mike and Tom. Thank you.
Thank you, Corson.
And now I feel a little useless because I don't know much more to contribute right now.
Oh,
good.
and how wonderful to notice how useful I thought what you shared was. And then to hear that the thought I'm useless is there.
Yeah.
So, and familiar to me.
I can go.
Please.
So lovely to see you guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've not been able to go anywhere that they've gathered around California people or wherever after the meeting. And I thought, what a bummer. How much I want to be with all of you and hug you and hold you, say, hey, you don't know me, but I love you. We were sitting under one roof and 10 of you, I never made any connection. And I thought, fuck, why did it have to be so big? We couldn't do that, And I was sick as a dog anyway. I got corona in there. So anyway, but I have felt useless into complete different occasions that is like they have nothing to one of it is like I feel like such a hypocrite. And I start from the nice good one first, and it was just like this last weekend. I'm Persian, and my community is massive in California, and we had the biggest history wedding you've ever seen in the world for my niece. And it was like $1 million wedding in a house, which was just unheard of. You've never seen anything anywhere. And I was there and I thought, my family is rich except me because I'm just a coach, but they are really wealthy, all of them. And I sat in there and said, I feel so useless here. Every table this is a billionaire, that's a millionaire, that's this, that's that. And there's I and my husband, we're just normal people, And I felt so useless to be amongst this crowd. And I thought, why am I here? Why am I trying to act like I'm one of those when I'm not? Which I knew they're all paying $8,000 for the outfit, and I went on Amazon and I paid $200 and I wore it, And I just felt such a hypocrite and not suited. And I thought, Class A Azul tequila will do it. So I had 2 shots of it up. I'm not going to tequila. And we had the shot and we danced all night long and we had so much fun and my niece was so happy. But all night I felt the difference that I am so useless amongst this crowd. Like I'm so not matching my sisters. They're perfect, beautiful. And that was the insane that I am from this crowd, but I'm not of this crowd, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
The one before that it said, I just lost my mother 4 weeks ago, and we were all wondering what's going to happen with the wedding is coming up and all of that. And I felt useless. I was having such a fight with my sister, who was my mom staying with. And I got in the biggest fight you can think of with my sister because she wouldn't let me feed my mother. And that ate me up. And she was saying, no, don't feed her. She's got to wait another half an hour. I said, that woman is in her deathbed. What the fuck? Let her eat and throw up. Why? And she was like stopping me. And at that time, who was the coach anymore? I needed to be coach myself then. I literally felt so useless, so little. by opening my mouth and closing my eyes and ears and call my sister every name on the planet you can think of for not letting me do that. And I was so furious with myself whilst I was doing it, whilst I was so outraged. And I thought, who would I need to be at this moment? Where do I feel it? And I thought, I felt it in every ounce of my being, in every cell in my body. I feel the anger and frustration because I want to feed my mother. And 12 days after that, she died. Not because she was starving, but they wanted to give her that much. And I said, give her as much as she can eat. She's going to go. What's the point? And since then, I've been feeling the most useless person. And I like shot myself down. I did not see clients. I couldn't work. The anger and the tantrum of uselessness took all over me. Until maybe a couple of days before the wedding. And when I saw this, I'm not always on the site that we have on WhatsApp to see it all. It's like, bless you guys, it's like 9,000 texts a day. Who's got time to go through it all? And then all of a sudden, I saw something popped up in my phone and it says, oh, I won't be able to be there tomorrow. And I said, what is that? I looked at it and I have a meeting right now at between 8:10, I mean Pacific time, for 50 minutes, and I thought, screw it, I'm going to go and join this group, and I just want to see these pretty faces and just say, even though I don't know you, I feel useful being here and being with you, and thank you for making this gathering. It's life-giving. It just feels good. Like looking at you all is just like, oh, I've got all my kids that I haven't seen them for such a long time. So it's lovely to be here. Thank you for this. That's itself is healing. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
I can go ahead. Hi guys. I'm very happy to see all of your faces. I'm here in the middle of nowhere traveling for work, and I don't really relate a lot to I am useless, but this is useless, right? Like whatever I'm doing at the moment. So right now, I'm doing that a lot with my work. I see, like I tend to think like I could be doing so much better or so much more useful things, and meanwhile I'm in a convention in the middle of nowhere in the Midwest with 3,000 hairstylists, and I like it's just bizarre. And the I'm like, oh my God, this is useless. Why am I like doing this? And very judgmental, very this thought takes me to apathy. It's like, what's the point? Like, what's the point? Like, and then, like little things like, Diana's not gonna let me lie. I had like a little meltdown out the airport. We did the work on Sunday on kind of like a fight that I had at the airport with some coffee shop girl. And I was like, oh my God, all this work, all this spiritual work is useless. I'm back at square one. And I think my mind loves that. But then I think the most useful thing is to I love when, people ask Katie for the question of like, what's my purpose? Is like your purpose is being standing there asking what's your purpose, right? Like that has been probably like the biggest idea for me, because I do have like really big desire, big ambitions, and which may be the compensation for I am useless behind, right? I may be very unaware of that. But I think I lost my point. Yeah, like I tend to be like, what am I doing? And sometimes I'm like walking in the middle of New York and I'm comparing to everyone, right? And I'm like, oh, this person, oh, look at that person. That person is doing better in that particular, like he has a better body, she has a happy family, like they have a beautiful apartment, like blah 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 blah, like to the point like she seems to be enjoying her coffee. It's like comparison, comparison, comparison. And sometimes I'm just have to go to a point where like, what am I doing with my life? And it's like, I should be doing something so much more exciting on a Saturday night. And then I'm like, actually, life seems to think it's very important for me to be reading this book or listening to the podcast like right now in my apartment, right? And to have the humility to actually enjoy that, like for me, like being in this weird thing, like where I'm in the middle of the Midwest in a weird hairstylist show, and to be like, well, who do you think you are not to be there? Like, life seems to think it's very important. I woke up here, and to be able to just open up to all of it takes you to a different paradigm. One of the things I really love what Jody shared, and one of the things that I love is this concept of a building. This is from, I believe it's Carolyn Myss. Like we're all like a building, and things look very different on the ground floor. And as you go up in the state of consciousness, and the thought is nothing, because the thought is just neutral. Is how I relate with the thought from what state of consciousness, right? So from a state of consciousness of shame, of like I am useless, if I connect to that through shame, oh boy, is that a nightmare, right? Because it's like there's something wrong with me. I'm so useless. And basically I'm like the human equivalent of like dog shit on the sidewalk, right? And then as if you go into guilt, you're gonna connect differently to that. And if you go into just um let's say courage, like that number 6, I'm looking forward to being useless, right? How do you connect to that when you're able to go honestly into that number 6 after going through all the questions? And I think like the state of mind, let's say it this way, the state of mind that writes the one-liner, it's a different state of mind than the one answering, number 4, number 6, because it just shows you like that, like who would I be, like, in complete gratitude of I am useless, or this is useless, right? Um, yeah, so that's where my mind is at today. I will not be able to stay the whole session, but I love to join this because it was like, okay, so listening to my whiny thoughts of why am I here, or listening to all these beautiful people and their beautiful ideas, so I rather join even for an hour. So thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Hilario.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for the perspective of gratitude for the thought of being useless. So we're hearing from Jody as well. That's a real shift for me. I really appreciate having that perspective. And I noticed that I've had that thought as I think about it now, as I consider it. I go, oh yeah, there have been times where I take comfort in this is pointless, and so great. So no big deal. That means I don't need to worry about it. That doesn't mean that means it doesn't have to trouble me. Or I am useless. Oh God, thank God no one needs me right now, because I've got something else to worry about, or something else to concentrate on, or some other work that I need to be doing. Thank God for uselessness in this moment. Yeah, I'm really appreciating that perspective this morning.
That's actually a pretty good state and I think this is really about, as always, right? Can you actually take distance to whatever goes through your mind? And you can say, well, actually, it's pretty cool to be useless at this moment, because otherwise, I can relax. I can do, whatever I want to do now. I can observe, I can walk away. Right? Nobody seems to matter about it, right?
Yeah.
It's just comfortable, right, to do it. Or on the other side, it becomes the biggest problem, right? And it really, depends on how you look at it. Right? Yeah. Actually,
I saw Jess put in the chat, I should be of use. Is it true? And there's freedom in that, in questioning the thought that I should even be of use. I just noticed my own mind going to it. If I question that thought, oh, perhaps there's a turnaround there. I should not be of use.
who said that you should be of use, right?
Beautiful question.
Yeah, like who would agree with you? Where did you learn this? These are great questions, who would
Yeah.
agree with you? You should be of use.
Oh,
My mom, my commander, my boss, society, social media. Oh my God.
mhm.
Jess, thank you for putting this in the chat. This is great. Another one that I read was, I am useless and that means that. Interesting how each and every one of us has a different thought string that happens after that. A lot of things that go on, please.
Just the I am useless, that means that. It's like when I get a little stuck thinking about how to do the work on I am useless, is it true? Yes, no. I notice I want something different when I start thinking about that, and I got it wrong. I can do the work on that. I don't understand my role. I can do the work on that. Is that true?
Mhm.
That would, I may have to do that one shortly. That's ringing a bell in me. Okay. Yeah.
I just had the thought to invite everyone to take themselves off of mute if they'd like to, just for freedom of response, so that people could hear your laughter or your knowing, it sounds utterances of recognition or whatever, and to keep it on if you want it on too.
Beautiful idea.
Just to offer that.
Mm-hmm. When Jess says, I should be of use, is it true? I don't know, perhaps this is a cultural difference, but growing up, my father always used to say, what are you good for then? What are you good for? You guys probably didn't get it, but we did. I don't know. But it was like, what were you good for? I just want to know, what did you do today that it was useful? That was the question. And sometimes, when we were kids and we were at home, and of course my parents had I say of course just because that's all I knew. My parents had a massive house with 2-3 swimming pools in it, and we were just jumping from one to another and play and all that. So okay, so the swimming pools are tired of having you. What have you done useful for the swimming pool? Do you see how they fuck you up mentally? That you've got to do something that is not useful being a child and enjoying yourself, that's useless. So it was kind of like ingrained in us that you've got to be doing something for somebody that is good, even though if it doesn't serve you. That is called usefulness in their eye. And that's what was ingrained in us, that how else can I be useful to me if I'm not doing something good for the world? So when you hear all of that, is that true? Yeah, it's true, because that's all I know. This is the color of my eyes. You can't change it. That's what I know, right? I can wear a blue contact lens, but that's fake. And it's fake to not be useful because I don't know how else to be any other way. Meanwhile, I suffer from it because constantly I have to be useful for somebody else, for something else. That means I don't exist. I don't know to this day how to sit and lie down and just say, oh, I just want to chill. I want to be a service for me, and except when I go to bed. And then they call me ADHD because it was just ingrained to me from my childhood that go around, do things, just be of service somehow, somewhere, you know. And saying all of that to say our upbringing has a lot to do with it, with this idea. And when you get older, it's not that easy to switch it off and switch something else on. It's a lot of work. Even though I've been working on it for the last 30 years, truthfully, but it'd never be easy.
Maybe something to learn to become or to be useless. Huh?
It's an art. It's an
Yeah,
art.
I mean,
It
yeah, I
really
think,
is
you
an
know,
art.
if you're, you know, if you're always of use and you're busy being of use, yeah, learn how to be useless and just be.
It is an art.
Yeah.
And always when I talk to people and they say they interrupt me and they talk, and I said, you know, listening is an art. Become an artist and try to listen better and learn how to listen. And being useless is an art, which I haven't found the tools for it yet to become an artist of it. Perhaps you guys can do because you're so much younger and you have a lot of time in your hands to do it.
Thank
Perhaps.
you for sharing that story. It brought me to sports lessons in school. And I hear sentences like, don't dream. Don't just stand there. And so, and that speaks to the dynamic that I had with that teacher. A lot of other things, like I have the motivation of an iceberg. It's something that I hear. And I didn't agree on that at this time. So it gave me some clarity on not to focus my time on school, which is a decision that I'm very grateful for today. And where I'm landing is that from there, I connected the silence and doing nothing, just dreaming, to a dangerous situation. So I thought it would be dangerous to do that because I would not be of use to others. This would lead me to not having done everything humanly possible to serve my purpose and serve the people that need my work, my presence, and whatever. And so this is the what it means string that I experienced. This is very interesting. I now found that, or I am in the process of finding that there is a lot of situations where doing nothing is better than doing what I think is to be done. And this is difficult for me to understand it and to wrap my mind around it, or to start believing it, because I still feel this way sometimes. And this uselessness, what I wrote down when I think, Jess, when you spoke earlier, was that I worked with someone in the past, and I was very actionistic, if that's a word. So I was doing a lot of things because I enjoyed doing them. And he kept telling me that doing nothing would have been better than doing what I did. And I took that personally back then as an insult. And now I see that sometimes that, Omero, that relates to what you said about how I am useless is the thing that lays behind it, led me to doing a lot of things because my doing would make me useful and not my being. And Mike, when you shared that rant with me, which seems to be that's an entry in Out of Suffering. It's called Just Do Your Work, which is one of the entries that I keep revisiting because I catch myself in situations where I need to read that. It says, just do your work, and other people's reaction is none of your business. And also other people's perception of how helpful I am is none of my business. My perception of how helpful I am is my business. And my experience is that it doesn't align. I'm more helpful when I'm reactive than if I'm proactively trying to influence and manipulate things.
I love
So-
that. And oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. It's fine.
Cool.
I know.
So, one of the things that, like, this, nothing is out of order, so it's really impossible to be useless. And I think we've all had these cases of like seeing something that is a bad example, quote unquote, that is so useful. And one of the things that happened after our school in March, when I went back to New York, I was going down the subway and down the stairs on a subway station, and there was a guy having an overdose, and he died there. And I was there with him as he was dying and trying to like call 911. Some person showed up. They had some Naxalon. We did that. It didn't work. So it was like, you could say we were useless to stop his death, but it was actually, I mean, I was in a very beautiful state of mind after school. So it was a gift. It was truly a gift to be there. And even as he died, that was so useful to me in my experience, like to be able to share that with someone. And there was a girl next to me. She was visiting, and she was trying CPR, and she was trying to resuscitate him through cardio massage. I don't know how you say this in English, but and she was going through what it looked to me to a lot of frustration, and she was connected in a very different way to it, and it was lovely to see that, right? It was lovely to see that as well. But what I'm thinking, where I'm going with this is like, even dying, you cannot not be useful, right? Like it served a purpose. Like it was exactly what I needed to see, and it was so useful to me. Like this is the subway station that I take every morning to where, whatever, work or whatever, because it's right around the corner. So every time I walk down those stairs, I think about this moment, and it's just, it was so useful to me. Yeah.
Well, and maybe some also, if you can take something out of it, right? I mean, I remember a situation where I went, I came on a car accident, and I, I felt, I tried, I didn't really know how to help, right? So I tried as much as I could do out of this, right? But then of course, I thought about what I could have done better if I would have known, and this took me then actually to take a training. So for next time, when something like this may happen, right, I could be more of use, right? But yeah, I think maybe it's unpleasant in a moment, right? To feel it, because I think you feel helpless, right? And you feel powerless or whatever. But doesn't mean that's okay. That's what you probably had to learn, right? And maybe you can take something out of it and say, okay, let's either I was useless, but you were definitely not useless in your case, because you assisted, if you want, or you were there for this person. And probably the same for me, as well. Even I was not an expert. Nobody, the person lying there was not, expecting for me to be a doctor if I'm not. And I think this happens only here, right? That you think, well, I should know better, and all this, right? I'm useless in this situation, whatever. But yeah, maybe it helps you to, to to change also something.
Or not. You know, like one of Katie's words are amazing to me because like they open me to a different perception. Like I love when she says, "How else would you die on time?" Right? So there's nothing to do better, you know. Like that was perfect. But one thing does get to the other. I love how that perfect action took you to learn something. How else would that spark that desire in you, right? Um, so everything is very useful in its own time, I guess. Yeah. I like to go in number three into the past and really go as far in the past to find where was like that first time or that time where fear really got imprinted of being useless. Let's say, for example, I remember once working with someone that was doing something about feeling useless, and she was in the earliest memory sitting on a kitchen table, seeing their parents fight, seeing her parents fight, and she couldn't stop it, so she felt useless. And as a little child, she took it all on her own, like the guilt of not being able to stop it. And that fear gets projected into the future. And that fear that that person at that time didn't know was going to end, because in the moment it's happening, we project it's going to be forever, or we're going to project like it's the end of something, or you know, something bad is really going to happen to. So taking the time in number three to just actually be there now, and then to let yourself know what the person knows now, right? Like, let's say what actually that girl didn't know that 6 hours later, it's like probably her parents were making up again, right? Like they for all I know, like they were happy for years after that, but she didn't know that in that moment, and that's where trauma gets imprinted and gets projected then onwards. So to go there and actually inform yourself, like live it, like no, actually it will be fine. Like other than what you're thinking, I'm believing everything was fine. So live it now. And that frees a lot of things. And I think if we relate so much to this useless thing, to find that moment where that got imprinted in number three would be very useful. No pun intended.
Yeah.
Or yes.
Or yeah, maybe intended.
Or you maybe intended.
I really appreciate that. I'm thinking about where that first got started for me, and I come from a family of people who have done, to my mind at the time and even now, they've done important things in the world, and you know, have affected things on large scales. And having that example growing up, I now see that I told myself the story that that was the way to be in the world, and that was the legitimate way to be in the world, was to be making large scale contributions to society on scales that would end up in newspapers and things like that, because that's what I was seeing happening. And I remember dedicating myself to meeting that standard, and would try this thing and not end up at that level, and then try this thing and not end up at that level, and start this company and have it fail, and then start that company and have it fail. And when I say fail, I mean from the standard business metrics. I now don't see any of those things as failures, but at the time I really processed them as failures. And the last business that I founded when it closed, I was really carrying around a very strong "I am useless. Nothing I do works. I can't win." And thank God for the work. And being able to sit in and question that thought and land at a recognition of the fact that I am okay, aside from what I'm thinking and believing. And to witness that aside from what I'm thinking and believing, I am fed, sheltered, perfectly okay. The ground is holding me up. I look around me and I see that I have support and that I have love, and that people are reporting an appreciation for my existence. And that I had to admit that to myself. And when I saw that that was the case, in spite of all of these efforts and apparent failures, the thought hit me that maybe my purpose in life is above my pay grade. That it's not up to me, that it's not about me, that I don't do it, that it's being done. And that thought, I got a lot of peace out of that thought. And I've kept it. And as I've experimented with that thinking, I've noticed how I can be walking down the street and see someone on the opposite side of the street and see what they're wearing, or to watch an interaction between two people and to be inspired by a kindness that I saw, 40 feet away, and to have the recognition that that person will never know that I was affected by the interaction that they had with a loved one or something like that, that it inspired me. They'll never know it, but it was tremendously useful for me. And that I brought it through the rest of my day, and I've let it affect my life. And I've actually now let it impact my life to a degree that I'm now sharing it with you. And maybe that will have an effect. And that person will never know any of that. That it stands to reason that that's my truth as well. That my usefulness goes unnoticed by me, and that it doesn't have to be noticed by me. That I can't help but be useful in the way that the universe intends for it to be. The thing, whatever's happening in that level above my pay grade. Like, I didn't put me here. I didn't choose to be alive, as far as I know. Maybe I did, but as far as I know, I didn't. And something else put me here and put me on a path, and that I'm enjoying the idea of just trusting it.
Beautiful, Michael. It makes me think that my usefulness is not my business. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm liking that thought a lot these days.
Mhm.
When Jess and I were at the Roxanne workshop, and it was about like turning around. There was a part of it where it was like turning it around to the opposite, like I am useful, and to see all the things that came up to that, like all the resistance to that. But there was a follow-up question that was so useful. That was, who would I be disloyal to if I really believe this thought? I am useful. And, for example, in my case, my father was like, this, in my, he was like in a pedestal, right? And I even remember having a conversation with him where he was like saying some things about my brother and I, and he was saying, what did I did wrong? I tried to be so perfect to give you a good example. I was like, yeah, exactly. Like, how could we ever be so perfect, right? Like, so every time I felt like I was perfect, it would be disloyal unconsciously to my father. It would be like killing my father in a way, right? So to be able to have the humility, the honesty, to just really let it be, like to really embody completely, I am useful, and to experience all of those betrayals and let it kill you, literally, right? So I've been doing that exercise mostly with this turnarounds of like, just like fully embodying the opposite and see all the resistance and notice that resistance because there's so much in there. Yeah. It's a blasphemy, right? Like when you've been saying I'm useless, to suddenly say I'm useful, it's a blasphemy in some sorts.
It's like you're being disloyal to that person that was, it's like I built a whole routine life patterns to hold up this I'm useless and I need to do all these things to be useful. And when you say I'm useful as is, it's a little bit of a, yeah, you're going against that, what you thought was you.
Yeah.
Bye, Jody. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Jody.
I also have to sign out. It was great to see you
I
guys.
will just
Thank you,
join.
Homero.
I will
Oh,
just
we
join
have
the
another one of
uh,
these sessions.
Thanks
Are
a
we-
lot. That was a
Bye.
good thing. Thanks to have. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
This is brilliant. Are we going to have another one?
Sure.
But for
Why
the
not?
love of God, can you give us more time?
Why
That
not?
That's
Michael, something that really struck me was Katie used to say, she used the expression, we are breathed. And that kind of made me, stand back. And then, from what you said, I suddenly had the feeling of, we are being lived.
Mhm.
So that just felt really like, we're trying so hard to be this, be that, but actually we're being lived, like we're being breathed. Just food for
Yeah,
thought. Yeah.
I love that thought. Love that thought, and it checks out in my experience. It seems like, so I've loved, as I've said, I like to just kind of try on a peaceful thought and then just live it, and if it doesn't hurt me, then I continue because
Yeah.
I seem to prefer peace.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that came to mind was the universe will make me fail at everything I should not be doing.
Wow. I've experienced that one.
And that I can be grateful for direction.
Jesus, that's painful.
Mm.
Back there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then again, what does Katie say? Follow the simple direction.
Right. Yeah.
Wow, to just let go of the idea of being useless. It's like I feel like I'm married to it. And if I want to let it go and say I am useful, it's like I'm betraying this part of my life called my husband, that is called I'm being useless, that I'm gonna let go of. And I feel like it's so difficult to let it go. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying who do I need to be to let go of this idea and become a new person before I leave this earth?
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's been ingrained in me by the way it's been taught to me and spoken to me, and it's so hard to let it go. But again, thank God for the work. it has strengthened me to fight it, and just want to fight this idea that I'm useless, fight the idea that I'm no good in all of that. So not only I can become married to a true self of myself, then I can be a better wife, better daughter, better sister, better coach, better friend. But does it take a ton of work? Without a doubt. At least it does for me. And this session is brilliant. Thank you for whoever thought about it. And
Thank you, Tom.
encourage you, Tom. You're the youngest and the smartest, man. What that? Why? What's up? What's up? So
Well,
yeah, let's do this again, because it's a lifesaver. You know, we all have all these, but what if after the work, and ton of us who never got a chance to go to the continuation, the one that Kathy or Katie White had it, and the other one, Roxana had it, and we didn't go to any of those. It's a great platform to just be of support for one another, and is uplifting. Thank you.
I'm glad you think so. I feel the same way.
Absolutely. Like, I know I'm not going to go through the day being the one that woke up this morning and went on. So
Glad to hear it.
thank you. Thank you so much.
And if you want to do it again, pencil in October 7th in the early afternoon. We're considering that. Doing it Saturday, October 7th. Sometime in the early afternoon. Tom and I haven't connected on it yet, but that's the date that's floating out there.
Are you guys in Pacific, or where are you guys?
Well, I'm in Central and Tom's in Germany, and
Oh wow, are you?
and yeah, so we have a request for that time, and so Tom and I were thinking we'd just meet that request, but we just need to connect on our mutual availability.
What a great change that day, because you're early afternoon in Germany. Wouldn't that be like, I think it's going to be about 9 o'clock Pacific time, depending on how early would you say?
Yeah, but the thought is 1 p.m. Eastern. So what is that? That's 10 Pacific
So I finish work at 11 that day.
on Saturday.
That particular Saturday, I don't work, but that particular Saturday, actually, I'm writing a book and I'm meeting the person that is doing it. So
beautiful.
It ends at 11 a.m. Well, if I get to be with you guys, brilliant. If not,
Well, that's good information to have, and because we haven't set the time.
if it's a little later, that'd be
Thank
great.
you.
If the world doesn't go around me, so I shall miss that and join another one. You guys don't record this, do you?
Yeah,
We do.
Oh, you do? Brilliant. It's something else to be live.
Hey, honey, can you share the recording? I feel like I missed so much of the good stuff.
Yeah.
You'll get it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to love you and leave you guys. It was brilliant. Sadly, I have to work, and I look forward to see you guys again.
Thank you for
sharing. That was brilliant. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for being here. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Grateful. Yeah, so I was planning on being here until the next hour, so I'm happy to remain as long as people want to.
I'm heading out, but I would like the recording, and thank you all for gathering, for getting together.
So let's see. In order to get recordings to people, we'll need emails. And so I heard that Fari wants it, and I don't, or no, it was Carrie wants it. Carrie, and then would you be willing to share your email with us?
Yeah,
I'll drop Your
it on the
email's
chat.
in the chat, or send it to me. I'll take care of it.
There it is.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Check your
Oh,
spam too, in case it gets there.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you. So I'm curious what's coming up for you two.
I think for me, I was thinking of the word useless in terms of, or useful in terms of like service and contribution, because I think I grew up feeling like you had to be of service. You had to be, whether you were a parent or a friend or at work, adding value. And also, and contribution, like what is your contribution to the world? And I even look at Katie and I think, she is in service. She is useful. So for me, it's still kind of like so I don't think it's like, don't need to be useful. It's more how we put the post-its on us about what useful means, because useful can be in the positive sense, but I know we're looking at it from a suffering point of view. So yeah, it's kind of that distinction for me, isn't it? It's about where it creates suffering. But I do appreciate how contribution and service can be a positive as well.
Yeah, me too. And having spent a lot of energy trying to find a way to contribute.
Yeah, like what you guys are doing now as well is useful,
Yeah. It's ever since having the experience of seeing someone across the street and noticing that I was inspired by them and that they would never know it. I now at least love the idea that it's not possible for me to be useless.
Yeah.
I don't, that it doesn't take effort to be useful. I'm being used exactly how I'm supposed to be used. And then when I think of Tom standing still in gym class, that his teacher just couldn't see it. Couldn't see how useful Tom was being standing still there. And that I often won't see how useful I'm being because I can't, because I don't have access to everyone else's experience of me. I don't have access to everyone's to the effect of me on other people, whether they even know it or not. It's possible that that neither I nor the person that I'm contributing to will know that I've made the contribution. I think about how trees supply the world with oxygen that we breathe without ever knowing they do. And that squirrels plant trees without ever knowing that they're doing it. Because they collect nuts and acorns and they bury them in the ground to save them for themselves. But next thing you know, they forget where they are and the tree grows. They have no idea they're planting trees. And I like the thought that I'm doing the same thing. I'm moving through my life, contributing exactly how I'm supposed to be contributing, and I won't know. I'll know the narrowest sliver of it. Yeah, that idea is peaceful to me, at least.
Yeah, completely. And who we are without our story, we're just taking the next step that feels right. whether it's setting up a group session or it's just the next step that is living us.
We're being lived. I love that. I love that. I'm going to take that out of this call. We're being lived. It feels true. I remember Katie. I remember listening to a Katie podcast. So just listening to her work with someone who was so depressed that they weren't getting out of bed, and they were judging themselves for not getting out of bed. And Katie's guidance to this person was to just go ahead and be in bed. Aside from what you're thinking and believing, are you okay? Notice you in the bed. Is there a problem? And this person reported they couldn't find a problem other than what they were thinking and believing. And she said, just be there. And notice, all of a sudden, you'll be standing. And you won't even have meant to do it. And then just go with that.
Yeah.
And since hearing that, I've had the experience. I've had that same experience. I took that. I found myself in bed. I found myself judging myself for being in bed, and I took that advice. And it was crazy. I was noticing after I stood up that I stood up. But it to me, it revealed something that I take actions and they're not even necessarily mine. They happen when they need to happen. I don't have to be at the controls. That was a very freeing experience.
Yeah.
And it's so I can trust that I'll do what needs to be done, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it's a lot more fun than trying and trying and trying and trying. And so far, it seems like no one's getting hurt by it. Except me when I'm thinking a stressful thought.
Mm-hmm. So it's easier to just be in bed when you're in bed and get up when you just get up. Or going to what Cal was saying, be of service, or do what you think you should do to be of service when it actually happens. Like when you'll need to, go and help those people or build the community around something that you want to help, it will happen.
And I notice that when I'm not trying to be of service, I'm able to notice how I am of service. That the trying covers over my awareness of what's actually already happening. I look beyond the present moment. I look beyond what's actually taking place. I miss it. If I think I'm not being of service, I'm coming to believe, if I think I'm not being of service, it's because I'm not noticing how I'm being of service. And it stands to reason for me. I like the thought. I am always being of service. It's impossible not to be of service. Though it is possible not to know how I'm being of service. I might not see it. And so it's fun to feel like I'm not doing anything, to have the thought, Mike, you're not doing anything, and that's not acceptable. And then to follow that with the thought, well, this must be exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. and to just have wonder about how that could possibly be, and sometimes break into laughter because it looks like I'm not doing a goddamn thing. And so to just be like, this, if this is what the world needs from me, it's hilarious.
I get
And that-
angry.
And I can't wait to find out what it is. So, what's that?
I said I get angry. And I wonder who I'm getting angry at. Because when I'm doing nothing, and if that's the truth, and if that's what the world needs from me right now, someone told me that this is not useful, or that I'm useless in this situation, doing that. So I am, and I earlier when some of you said that talked about not being able to do something else. It's like I feel like I don't have a choice sometimes, because I tried getting up, sitting down, doing work, getting on my computer, and there was just nothing flowing out of me. And so that's a good reminder, I guess, or a good thing to notice. And then still, where does that thought come from? I'm there right now because I started believing it sometime. And so today I have days where in the mornings I feel groggy and I think, oh, I should have gotten up at 5 a.m. and bet the sun up and go to gym class, not dream, and get all my to-dos ready and do this and that and this and that by 8, and then it doesn't happen, and then I'll lay in bed and then I feel useless, and then later the day something great happens, like this event, for example, and then I feel like I was totally helpful again, not knowing if I even was helpful. And it doesn't matter. So yeah, I'm thinking about who I am angry at in this situation, and who told me this. Where do I know this thought from?
Yeah, if it isn't childhood or a teacher or a parent or society, even just hustle culture is about going, doing, achieving, adding value, being useful, and being able to kind of realize that, let's just call it society, because society makes up everybody. Then, the whole concept of slowing down, which has been a big thing in my life for a while, for a few months, slowing down conversations, slowing down, because, and I'm finding it to be so, like, almost, I don't like to use the word productive because it goes back into that cultural thing, but like the slowing down, you're right, Tom, we've had this like operating system of behaving, and it's almost like it needs to be rejigged or recalibrated. because
And it gets so strong that it feels almost awkward to think like that. It's so obvious. If I'm only doing something, if I'm sitting there and there's literally no one in front of me, no one on my phone, on my emails that is demanding my attention or my work, and I'm sitting there going out, approaching people, hey, I need to work for you, I need to do something, it feels desperate. It's so obvious that it's a self-serving idea. Or like, well, self-serving in a sense that it doesn't really serve me, but it's it doesn't have to do something with the other. It's not real. And it's I find it really tough to judge a neighbor. I don't find a neighbor to judge right now.
Is that what connects to who I wonder who I'm angry with?
Yeah.
Like you're finding the neighbor to judge.
Yeah, it's so difficult for me to judge myself, and I hear that well, it can be a trick. You can trick yourself out by judging yourself. So it's like you're always judging someone. It's what works for me, or works best for me. And the situation feels so alone that I don't really find anybody to judge.
So what do you do when you're in this anger and you don't find anyone to judge? And like, do you do the work somehow
No,
anyway?
not that I know. I
Do
feel
you
like
stay angry?
I stay angry, and I believe the thought that I am supposed to be doing the work now, and then I beat myself up for not doing it and feel useless again.
It's like I'm useless for feeling useless, because this
Yeah.
uselessness has just brought me into like a worse of a.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah, and what you said about then you're lying in bed, you said at one point, it happens to me also, and it's like body follows mind after feeling I'm useless. And I don't even know where the thought came from. Like, what is it that's making me feel useless so that I can fix that? I don't know, because it's already super heavy, and then I just want to lay in the couch and just. So yeah, I can relate.
And hearing you saying that, I'm thinking about, when I lay on the couch, and I believe that this helps me to release or to calm down. It's totally more stressful than working, because when I'm working, I'm getting the self confirmation. I don't believe those thoughts. I'm happy with myself because my ego has the food it needs, or I think it needs, and then laying on the sofa becomes a lot more stressful and a lot more energy consuming that it gives back to me. Very interesting. Thank you. I have found that out now.
Thank you for sharing. I like when you say, when I'm working, the ego gets the food it needs. I can relate, and it's like I keep adding jobs and tasks and things that I need to do, and then I realize like, oh, that was just, I thought I was being useful, and that was just my ego needing food, grabbing the next thing.
Just helped me realize how a potential change of story could look like. Thank you for that.
Could you say more about the potential change of story?
I can. I noticed that looking into the past, looking back to this morning where I felt useless laying on the bed, and it happened. So I can't change that. And somehow I believe the thought that I am right here or somewhere else doing work or something that I consider useful would be, I'm just thinking out loud, rambling. I don't know if this will land anywhere, but that I would value that more than me taking rest or doing things that look like taking rest. And so, okay, here's where I'm landing. No matter if I decide for or against taking rest, I take rest. It just happens. I can't stop that. And not every time I believe now I need rest, I actually do need rest. Whereas the times that I do need rest, I take the rest automatically. I can't do anything about it. Just life leads me there. Rest takes me. And the more I object and fight against this rest being taken, the longer I need the rest. So the more I reject it, the more I need it. Yeah, the ringing of the bell comes to mind.
What comes to mind for me is that it's tiring to fight with myself.
Absolutely.
It wears me out.
I do know what tiringness feels like. It's horrible. Thank you for that. Did that answer the question of the change of story?
Yes, and it was very interesting to hear. And then, yes, I fight with myself too. And then I'm really tired. And then my body, like you said, just goes into rest. And then a new story can come up like, am I tired because I'm really needing the rest? Or is it because I was fighting with myself?
And isn't both fine?
Both are fine. I think the win, let's say win, is whenever along this process, like as much as you are caught in one thought and then the next one about the uselessness, the not working, the being tired, whenever you can, and it's never too late, like Katie says, just drop whatever thought is there. So whatever thought, and then like you're saying, oh, I'm tired because of all this useless story, and now I wasn't productive. If I can just drop that thought, then I can rest.
Yeah.
Or if I could drop the one before or the one after, it's always the right moment to drop the thought and just either go into rest or go into whatever it is you need to go into.
And also, Cal, thank you for pointing out the hustle culture, which I consider myself an opponent of it. And so there's another culture, balance culture, where I have an image in my head of what a healthy balance would look like, and what routines I would need to obtain this. And so where I'm landing after investigating this whole work and relief and stress and usefulness idea is that rest will take me, and then also work will take me back when it needs me. I see that as a thought that right now allows me to enjoy the rest and not be scared of the rest, because I found right now through that, thank you, I found that I'm scared of the rest because I think I'm scared of getting stuck in it, scared of not getting out of it again, that it would suck me in. And looking in the past, work always took me back. Even when I didn't believe it at all. It took me in various forms. I was always needed. And used. I don't know if used is
useful.
Yeah, useful. I don't know if you remember the object exercise from the school where you would ask a question to an object, and I think I asked, what would you do if you couldn't make a living with your purpose? And then a garage storage unit replied to me, I would just be given a new purpose.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So easy.
And I can see that with the storage unit.
Yeah, right.
Different person would put different stuff inside the storage unit.
It would be used for something else, because property is always useful.
Yeah. It's great.
Wow.
And so am I.
I love that exercise. That exercise was so cool.
Mm. So good. The other kind of realization I'm making in relation to all the talk about rest is, and it's actually never hit me before like this, which is that people say rest is important, rest is this. But even when we do inquiry with Katie, it's kind of like your mind going into a bit of rest. It's allowing it to just kind of slow down and, go in and, come up with the wisdom that's there. So rest I now see rest as the same thing. It's about being able to take that time out, and people see it as a waste. Well, let me speak for myself. I see it as a waste, but actually it's that opportunity to go in to it. And then, as we said, then your next step will, whether it's to stand up or to go and work or to go and eat something, or, that next step happens. The rest is the gold, possibly. Could it just be the gold?
Yeah, and when I'm resting, I'm not working. Is it true?
Yeah.
Oh.
Mm.
Mm.
Yep.
I'm reminded of another BK podcast where she was working with someone with obsessive compulsive disorder, who was very troubled by the fact that they couldn't stop themselves from taking 5, 6, 7 showers a day.
I've been
And
there.
she said to the person, when you have the impulse to take the shower and you find yourself in the shower, don't miss it. Enjoy the shower. I love that advice.
I love that.
Mm. Yeah.
I just love the self-grace of that. And I've taken that advice, in things that I've been doing where I was like, this isn't what I should. No, don't miss it.
Mm.
Don't miss the piece of cake or the, whatever it is. And to sink into the acceptance of what is in that moment removes the stress that brings it on. I mean, what's interesting about that technique is that so much of, like you were saying, Tom, so much of needing the rest is being at war with the idea of rest. I wear myself out. But if I just enjoy the rest and I take it and I am present in it and not projecting a future where things are going wrong because I'm doing this, or shame over the past, but just being in the rest and enjoying it, then I get what was needed out of it, and then it's Done. It's compounded by the internal war.
I'm working with a client, and one day we had a Zoom call, and I was clearly stressed. And so when I'm working with my clients, I always do like an emotional calibration where, well, that subconsciously happens. I just feel like I'm lying if I'm trying to hold up an image of a, perfect marketer or whatever. It just happens. And so she observed my idea. This came up when you, Mike, talked about the idea of relief. I think it was relief or relaxation. And I couldn't calm down when I chilled, because whenever I would sit down and just do nothing, my mind would start bothering me with to-do lists. And this seems to be the best time for me to sit down and to get clarity in my to-do list, because they come up, which they don't when I'm working. And she mentioned something to me that helped her, which is to focus on one to do and just do that and then stop. And I find a lot of joy and a lot of peace in that. More relaxation than if I would sit down. And I can say stop anytime. That's the beauty of it. I'm not married to a deadline. I'm not married to or pressured to any specific outcome. I'm just working on one task. And it doesn't matter when it's done. It doesn't matter if it's done. All I do is I do. And that reminds me of something my therapist once showed me. It was a quote. I don't know who it's from. He told me that there is no way, but there only is going. It's a German quote. I was live translating. There is no way, but there's only going. Or walking. I know that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I like the going.
Yeah, I like that.
It's like moving along.
Slow bike rides.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. I love how useful we're being to each other right now. That's my experience, at least.
I've been thinking the same.
Seems to be the purpose.
I have a lot of takeaways and things to reflect on from this meeting today. So I'm very, very grateful for that.
Do you mind
me too.
sharing some of the takeaways?
Well, one is, this thought of that we were just useful to each other now, and other things said before of how I don't even know how I'm being, like my thought of being useful is, this person that has to do things that create something, some sort of materialistic, or, like complete the to-do list, do something that matters. And then it's just, I don't really know what is useful and what is not, like that is that question of how do I know what is useful? Is it up to me that I'm useful or useless, or in what way? Like I'm not the doer in that way. And then like there's just this heavy I around the uselessness. Like I need to be useful, and I'm useless to them, and how does that look? So, or what Homero said, like this is useless, that also has an I feeling, like how am I engaged in this useless thing? So just seeing how heavy, the heaviness around, and just the mental exhaustion, going back to the thing about rest. So yeah, those are a few things to check out.
Thank you.
Thanks for recapping those. It was nice to be reminded of them. I'm just reflecting on the fact that those long moments of silence with the four of us were, I don't know why, but felt like the most useful moments of the entire call for me.
Same for me.
Agreed.
Like a much needed deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and to just have other people to be in that silence with me, felt very bolstering and supportive and safe and kind, and all the, yeah, it just felt very strong for me. It felt very useful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just noticing I'm not doing anything, and how could that possibly be true?
You're not doing anything.
Right? How could that possibly be true? It's just, what a beautiful thing. I love it.
Beautiful.
Grateful for you.
Yeah, me too. I was going to say just the presence of other souls that are looking, caring, searching in a it's very powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just there's so many. Diana, you summed everything up really well, but just like so many insights, and I think I'm still percolating through me. I haven't quite grasped all of them yet, but just everything everybody has said has been super powerful. So it just feels really good in the soul. I think that's what it is. It's, this morning I was thinking of mantras, and I thought, why do you sometimes read or hear something and you go, yeah, that's true, and other times it's like, oh yeah, that just really feels good and right. It's this is what this is. It just feels good and right. Yeah. So yeah, thank you everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Very grateful. Does it feel like the end of the call?
It does.
Yeah.
Until we meet again. Thank you
we
so
meet
much.
again. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Diana, and everybody else.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.